up off the block, hopped in the phone and pushed the top back. I've been hustling for a long time and I can't stop that. Big like I'm it, best believe it, and them all back. Yeah, I be ballin' all the time, I'm point guard and a quarterback.
Hey, welcome to a brand new Sports and Culture Sports Media interview. I'm your host, Tyler Butler. I have a very, very, very special guest with me on the, I would say, I don't know if I would call it a hotline, video chat with me today, which we're going to introduce him in a minute. But as always, we got to start off by what I call paying the bills. All of our Arkansas, and today kicks off our Arkansas player spotlight interviews, where we're just going to showcase a lot of the talent, a lot of the people making a difference in the Arkansas area. It is brought to you and presented by Corey Hyman, the electrical supply guy. If you are in the Arkansas area and need the best service and prices for your electrical and plumbing needs, please give him a call today at 479-301-8220. And today I would like to introduce the owner of Arkansas Prep Sports, really good friend of mine. His daughter is actually one of our first ambassadors, Kris Boyd. Kris, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Tyler, I appreciate you having me on. Really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, my man. Those that don't know, we've gone back and forth off Twitter, from the Arkansas women's basketball team, and then we started following your daughter as well, who's an amazing basketball player down there, and it's been a pleasure watching her grow up. But
she got a lot of work to do.
Oh, man. It's nothing like that dad stuff, man. Hey, I tell my daughter the exact same thing. We got to hit that weight room. So, hey, let's kick everything off from the very beginning. That's why I like to start. Where did the love from sports originate from?
Probably from my parents. My mom and dad got divorced when I was little, but my dad was a big sports fan. He was a coach. My stepdad, who helped raise me and mold me into the man that I am today, he was obviously a big sports fan. So I can remember, from as far back as I can remember, watching sports on TV, whether that was, local stuff here. We don't have a professional team in Arkansas, so everything revolves around the Arkansas Razorbacks. So from watching that back in the early to mid-'80s to ironically enough, both my dad and my stepdad are big Oakland Raider fans. So I grew up as a Raider fan as well.
Oakland.
And I can remember watching the Super Bowl between the Raiders and the Redskins. That's really the first football game I can remember watching. So I've been a big Raider fan since then.
Yeah. So now, is your dad, mom and dad, they're from the Arkansas area as well?
Yes. Yep, they are.
So how did they not become Dallas Cowboy fans? Because it seems to be a huge Cowboy fan following in that area.
I'm most definitely in the minority. So I think just stories that I heard, both my dad and my stepdad really liked those 70 Raiders that were kind of wild, and
gritty.
Jim Plunkett was kind of a hippie, and they just, Ken Stabler, the kind of the bad boys, they just kind of gravitated towards that versus following the Cowboys like everybody else did. But I think that's what both my dad and my stepdad liked, was just kind of that. Those guys being, different than everybody else.
Yeah, and similar to me, being over here in the South Carolina area, there's a ton of Dallas Cowboy fans, only because just like in Arkansas, there's not a pro team. Well, there's now the Carolina Panthers, but they came a little bit later.
Right.
So everybody gravitated towards that Cowboy team. They were the team of the 80s. Started winning Super Bowls in the 90s, so it's a huge following here. So I always find it remarkable when you have somebody kind of branch off from that Dallas Cowboy team in an area that doesn't have a team at all.
Yeah, and I grew up being a St. Louis Cardinal fan, so that's, most everybody in Arkansas are St. Louis Cardinal fans. So I kind of fell into that mold as what everybody else did. So I'm a big St. Louis Cardinal fan because that's what majority of the people here grew up listening to on the radio and watching on TV.
Absolutely. And just want to give a quick shout out to everybody tuning in on Facebook. My guy Porter Hayes from the Hall Talk. Thank you so much for always tuning in. Definitely my favorite podcast down there in the Arkansas area. And also Freddie Henderson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Next question, man. So I know most kids, they develop a passion for sports always had a dream and a vision of maybe playing it one day on the pro level. What was your professional dream, and was there any specific team you wanted to play for, like the Raiders?
Oh, I wanted to be a wide receiver for the Raiders. That's what I wanted to be. Tim Brown was my favorite player. I loved him when he was at Notre Dame and when he won the Heisman Trophy, and the Raiders drafted him. That was a dream came true. So that was always my favorite player was Tim Brown. I wanted to be a wide receiver for the Raiders.
So would it be coaching wise? Would the dream coach be John Madden?
100%.
I know. Yeah, every rate. Well, who doesn't love John Madden, man? The great John Madden. Rest in peace. Now let's talk about your new passion in Arkansas prep sports. So, what made you want to start this idea to help out the younger athletes in that area?
Well, it's really twofold. Obviously, I follow sports my whole life, and you can even you ask my wife. I follow sports probably too much. That's what my world revolves around. I don't necessarily hunt or fish very much. I don't play golf like most everybody else does. So my world revolves around sports. And what I saw was there was a large number of people in the media here in Arkansas that cover the high profile athletes, right? Those 3-star, the 4-star, the 5-stars, they get all the publicity. But there wasn't really a niche that covered the kids that kind of flew under the radar. And if you're in an area like Atlanta or Dallas, higher profile areas, those kids are going to get publicity just because they're playing with so many other athletes that are highly recruited. It doesn't really happen here in Arkansas. We just have a population of about 3.5 million. So those high profile athletes are few and far between. And so then those other kids were flying under the radar. So that was the first part, is I really saw a niche there. And the second part was there wasn't really a huge media that would cover the girls' side. And not just basketball, but softball and volleyball. There just really wasn't that around here. There's another guy that I'm really good friends with, and his name's Kevin Miller. He does a great job in the state of Arkansas about covering athletes as well. So we've teamed up, and we play off each other a lot. But it was really those kids that are I call them the no stars. And then on the girls' side, there just wasn't really that coverage for softball players, for volleyball players, golf, tennis, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and how has the reaction been from the Arkansas area? Because it's funny how we are a South Carolina-based company, but because when Arkansas women's team played up here in Greenville, and we started kind of following their story, and we gained a lot of traction in that state just from following that team, a women's basketball team. So how has the reaction been for yourself, being on the ground, having those foots on the ground and putting in all the dirty work?
Very positive. A lot of the coaches around the state will even reach out to me and say, "Hey, Kris, got a kid. Can you give her some pub or give him some pub?" So very positive. I don't put my name out there as much as I try to put Arkansas Prep Sports out there, because I don't necessarily want to be about me. But once people find out who I am, it is funny. You show up at a game and people, hey, can you get my baby out there? My baby's number 25. Can you get my baby? So it's just positive. It's very positive, because when people see what you're doing, that you're not necessarily just, pubbing the guy that has the offers from North Carolina and Duke and all that, but you're actually trying to get their kid who maybe not have any, offers from college, but they really want to. And they know that that's what you're really out there trying to do. So very positive, very positive.
Absolutely. And I just, it's so gratifying to hear, because that's exactly what we're doing over here in the South Carolina area. And the exact reason why I started Sports and Culture is to give those kids a platform that normally doesn't have the platform as the 4- and 5-star recruits. And similar to yours, like all of my logos, it's the company logo. It's not my face.
Right.
So it's always different when somebody actually recognizes me from Sports and Culture, because I try not to put myself in the limelight. I want the kids to have all the shine.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's the right way to do it.
So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. And Kevin Miller, yeah, he's great. He tags us on a lot of stuff. So
he does. Let me tell you, that guy is out there more than I am. I mean, he hits all over the state. He does a great job.
Yeah, Kevin he's unbelievable. Like he is everywhere. I follow him a lot. I've learned a lot about those girls in the Arkansas area just from his Twitter account. So those who are watching in Arkansas, if you definitely you need a good follow, you want to coaches, the recruits who follow us on Twitter, definitely check out Kevin Miller Twitter account. Um,
Absolutely.
now back to the family. It's Sophia, our brand ambassador. She's a hooper,
But
man.
she has a lot of fun with that. Let me tell you, she has a lot of fun with that.
I know.
She tells people about it.
Tell her, man, we love her. She's been following us since day one. And I wish I had some gear. Once I start making some gear eventually, we're definitely throwing some her way because love the support. She's probably been our top supporter in her age group out of anyone. So she's gonna forever be our brand ambassador. But what has the growth been like? You know, because you've seen her, your dad, you've seen her from the very beginning. Me watching my daughter develop in basketball has been something. What has that development growth been like from where she first started off playing to where she is today?
Well, to be honest, night and day. So I have 3 daughters. My oldest, she's going to be a sophomore in college. She played a little tennis when she was younger, but nothing real serious. She got actually pretty good, and her tennis instructor, it's a funny story. He came to me after summer, and he really wanted her. Her name is Corinna. He wanted Corinna to play on his travel team. And I was excited. She was like 5th or 6th grade. I was excited, okay, she's pretty good. He wants her to play on his team. So on our way home, I said, Corinna, your coach came to me and he said that he really wants you to play on his travel team. What do you think about that? She's like, I don't know, Daddy. I don't know if I'm going to play tennis anymore. It's really hot. And that was it. No more tennis. That was it. It's too hot. It's just too hot.
So, kids, man, you got to love them.
So she was a dancer, really good dancer and cheerleader. So that was my world. Sophia was a dancer up until about 4th or 5th grade. And she never really showed that much of an interest in any sports. We were at our church one time and she picked up a basketball and shot it for the first time, like 4th or 5th grade. And that was it from there. And so she went from playing school basketball 5th grade and not scoring a basket to scoring, 7th and 8th grade, 24, 25, 28 points a game. To last year in the 9th grade, they moved her up on the high school team. Now, she didn't play very much, but it was a valuable experience for her. Right. And now as a sophomore, she'll be starting on the high school team. So the growth for her has been night and day because she went in a very short period of time of playing a whole year of basketball and not scoring a basket to, scoring in the 20s, and now we'll start on the high school team as a sophomore. So she puts in a lot of work. I'll give her credit. She puts in a lot of work.
Sophia is starting. Man, this is awesome. Tell her we're sharing that news because I didn't know she was starting this year, but we're definitely sharing that news. I have to find a high school to make sure we definitely keep up this season. But nothing but pride over here with with sports and culture, man. That is awesome. Now, one thing that I see with my daughter, I would say confidence-wise, like what is some of the advice maybe you share with any of your kids playing through sports when they may have struggled confidence-wise just to boost that morale back up?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I always tell, so I've coached a little AAU, but my coaching days are over. These girls are so far beyond me. So my coaching days are over. But one of the things that I would tell them, and it's a quote that I'm stealing, it's not something of my own, but I would say, look, if something happened, don't worry about it. That's behind you. You can't, when you're walking forward, you can't be looking behind you because you're going to trip on what's in front of you. So always be looking forward. If something happened, if you missed a shot, if you had a turnover, if you had a bad grade, that's in the past. We're moving forward. We're moving forward because if you're looking behind, you're going to trip over what's in front of you.
Amazing advice. Something I'm going to write down and steal to a lot of these athletes over here in the Carolina area. So why do you believe, especially media-wise, I mean, thank God for companies like ours, us in Arkansas Prep Sports, but why do you believe there's such a gap in media coverage between the girls' sports programs, whether it be volleyball, tennis, basketball, compared to the level of media coverage that the male counterparts receive?
I honestly think it's just following society in general. our country's been around for 250 years, but women have only been able to vote for 100.
Right.
Title IX has only been around for 50 years. So I think it's just following society in general. I read, this was just a few days ago, I read this study that Stanford did in 2008. And since 1972, when Title IX was instituted, the growth of women playing college sports has grown by 650%. And each university has added an average of 8.8 women's sports per university. There were a lot of universities that didn't have any women's sports in 1972. So I just think it's a society in general. There's never been an emphasis on women in general. And I think that's really sad. I think we've come a long way in the past, even 10 to 20 years, just with the WNBA. A lot of games are on TV. You know, people like to joke about, you know, well, nobody watches WNBA. Well, that's not true. If you actually look at the ratings, any weeknight, ratings are growing. Any weeknight, a WNBA game will have higher ratings than a Major League Baseball game. A lot of people don't realize that.
Ooh,
But
that's
I
a
do think
daunting stat.
But I do think it's just society in general. You know, 30 years ago, there was zero coverage for women's sports. Zero. You might get lucky to find a Final Four or national championship game on TV, and that's about it. So, you know, we're still pretty young in the realm of women's sports. I do like the strides I've seen just in the past 5 or 10 years, but we still have a long way to go.
Absolutely. And I do tell people this. The last 2 years, I've spent more time watching women's college basketball than I have from the men. Could be because of what I'm doing in my profession, but nevertheless, those last 2 women's NCAA tournaments have been some of the best. And I'm not even going to put it in the women's category. That's been some of the best basketball I've ever seen in my life across the board. This
100% agree.
Has been amazing.
And I have people even say that once they actually start watching, they're like, this brand of basketball, this is real basketball. This is true basketball. You know, an example, I took my daughter 2 years ago when UConn traveled to Fayetteville, Arkansas. You know, Gino Auriemma brought his team to Fayetteville to play Mike Neighbors. Took Sophia, we went. There were 12,000 people at that game. That's more than a lot of men's arenas hold. But there were 12,000 people at that women's basketball game in Northwest Arkansas. And that wouldn't have happened 20 years ago at all. You wouldn't get 12,000 people at a girls basketball game in Arkansas. But the growth is exponential. And once people see the product, I think they're surprised, actually, once they see how well women's basketball is played.
Yeah, and I mean, it is blowing up. It's been my first year following the AAU circuit because a couple of girls out here in the South Carolina area was on Steph Curry's AAU team. And luckily, there's one, Full Wiley, who goes to, I forgot the high school she went to. But Full Wiley is one of the, Malaysia Full Wiley. She's one of the, I want to say, top 2 guards in the country. Looking at between Florida and South Carolina is 2 top destinations at this moment. She was just in New York today playing in the Slam tournament.
Oh, I saw some highlights from that Slam tournament. Yeah.
Extremely entertaining. The women's game from now starting all the way in middle. I've seen some elite talent in the middle school lineup all the way, of course, to the WNBA. It's not like how it was maybe 10, 15 years ago. Completely different product. And I think people need to just open their eyes and actually attend a game like the Arkansas UConn game. It's not what you think it is. Correct. A lot of these girls can probably punish some boys in one-on-one action.
Well, and that's true. And, you know, something that happens now, like when Sophia trains, her trainer, she trains with boys. They scrimmage. She scrimmages against boys. I don't think that would have even happened, you know, 15 or 20 years ago. People wouldn't have, you know, scrimmaged girls versus boys. They all, well, she's not good enough, or she can't hang with this, or they're not strong enough. Well, those days are gone, because there's lots of girls in this state that will dominate boys, that will just dominate them.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna. I know there's one girl in particular, and I'm gonna, of course, since she's in high school, not mention her name until I get permission from the parents. But man, she's a double. I call her Tim Duncan. She is a double machine, and she's down there. She's in the Arkansas area. She is dominating, and every time I see her highlights, I'm like, hey, she can play on the JV boys team right now, right, and kill some boys.
100%. There's a girl. She just committed. She's here in Arkansas. Her name is Chloe Clardy. She's from Conway. Just committed to Stanford, and I've seen her play against high school boys and open runs and drop 25 and 30 points on them easily.
I'm telling you, Malaysia can play. The girl from South Carolina, I guarantee she can play on any boys team.
Mm-hmm.
That girl talent level is like something I've never seen in my life from a girl. I wouldn't play her one-on-one. There's no way in the world. But so there's a, you know, and I'm gonna have you mention it outside of her. What are some names in the Arkansas area, especially girl? It could be girls basketball or men's basketball that people may not have heard of but need to get familiar with.
Well, there's several girls that will be graduating the 2023 class that you and other people, if you do follow women's basketball, you'll hear their names. There's a girl, her name is Savannah Scott. She also plays with Chloe at Conway. She's 6'5". She has a lot of SEC offers, Auburn. She has offers from Cincinnati, Louisville, SMU. So she'll be playing on a big-time stage. There's a girl named Tyra Robinson. She's 6'2", girl from Parkview who can pass like a point guard, and she has a lot of big-time offers. Jenna Lawrence is a 6'3" forward who's going to go play at University of Arkansas. So she'll be on TV all the time. Jenna's a 6'3" forward who can step out and shoot 40% from the three-point line. So she's big time. You'll see her on the big time stage. Those are all 2023 graduates. 2024 class is loaded. There's a girl that a lot of people know because she's real popular on Twitter. Her name is Wes Ferguson. She already has lots of offers. Wes is a 6-foot point guard who can play the 4. She can play the 1. She can do it all. She's crazy athletic. Her goal is she wants to dunk a basketball by the time she graduates high school. But super girl, super talented, great family. On her AAU team, there's a set of twins. They call them the Cook twins. It's JC and Jenna Cook. They are phenomenal. Both of those girls will play college basketball, and you'll probably hear about them. Their dad actually coaches them in high school. He was a really good college basketball player at Arkansas State. So you'll hear those girls' names for sure as well.
Absolutely. Wes Ferguson, man. I call her Red Rocket.
Yep.
She's one of my favorite in Arkansas. That is
mine too. Ours too.
Boy, that was the name I didn't want to mention. But yes, Wes Ferguson. Anyone in Arkansas, anyone in South Carolina, Georgia, and the South, Florida, that is a name you need to watch out for. I'm hoping, she's going to be on that Neighbors roster eventually. I would love to see her in a
I hope so
uniform. That girl is amazing. Amazing. Now, since starting Arkansas Prep Sports, what has been one of your proudest moments as a company?
Well, whenever you take some video or you promote a kid and then it gets picked up viral and people in California are seeing this kid's highlights, and then a kid who had 0 college offers is now picking up offers from all across the country because of just, you drove 20 minutes to go watch a football game and just happened to be in the right spot at the right time, and the kid makes a great catch and you post his highlight. And now on direct message, you're getting, messages from college coaches won't know who that is.
Yeah. And
he had 0 offers, and now a week later he has 2 or 3 in his pocket. That's what I like to see. That's what gives me the most pride is just being in the right place at the right time, getting a good video, posting it, tagging a few people, it gets retweeted, and all of a sudden now it has, 25,000 views from people all over the country, and the kid picks up offers. That's the most pride for me.
That's one of the greatest feelings. Getting direct message from a university or a scout saying, "Who is this kid?
Who is this? Who's number 11?" Yep.
Yep. Who's number 25? Where's she from?" That's the best feeling in the world because I can sit back and like, this is why I started this.
Absolutely.
That is definitely so. I can relate.
Absolutely.
Definitely can relate to that. Um, Arkansas, man. Even though I'm not, and eventually I have to get down to Arkansas.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I want to see the girls in person. All you guys are extended family. I definitely want to meet everyone down there one day. Describe the sports scene, like inside of the stadium, woo pig chanting. What is the sports scene and the atmosphere like in Arkansas? What does that feel like?
Well, I bet it's pretty similar to South Carolina prior to when the Panthers got there. We don't have a professional sports team, so the Razorbacks are our professional sports team. And when when they're good, basketball, football, or baseball, and you get in that stadium and those people are chanting "Woo Pig Suey," you can't hear the person right next to you screaming at the top of their lungs. So it is like a professional atmosphere at those games. Bud Walton Arena, it holds 20,000 people, which there's only a few college venues that hold more than that. And when they're good and, Calipari and Kentucky are in town and that place is loud, there's not a whole lot like it. I've been to a lot of professional basketball games and I love the college. I love the college atmosphere so much better. High school is high school football is big, really big in Arkansas, from small towns all the way to the larger ones. But, it's not like Texas football or Oklahoma, but I would say it's right below that. There's two small towns here in Arkansas, Benton and Bryant. They're just south of Little Rock, small towns, and they're right beside each other. And they have a huge rivalry game, and they call it the Salt Bowl. They play that game in War Memorial Stadium where the Razorbacks play. They'll have 30 or 35,000 people at that football game. Two small towns, but the rivalry is just so big. So you see that, you see these stadiums in Arkansas that will have 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people, watching these games.
And lastly, if you could get anyone to kind of take away what Arkansas Prep Sports is about, what would that one takeaway you would like for them to have?
I want the takeaway to be that I helped as much kids go to college for free or not paying very much money as possible. That's my whole goal, is to get as many kids as in college that may not make it there, or number two, may not make it as high of a level as they normally would have. But that's my whole goal, is to get as many kids in college as I can.
Absolutely. That's the way to have it. And hopefully, I would say within the next 2 or 3 years, we follow back. Between the both of us, we have like 40 or 50 kids on full scholarship.
That'd be great.
The groundwork that we done put in.
That'd be great.
And lastly, Kris, just let everybody know where they can follow you and the company on social media.
I'm on all, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the good stuff. Just search Arkansas Prep Sports, or the Twitter address is AR Prep Sports.
There we go. Kris Boyd of Arkansas Prep Sports, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Tyler, I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.